first ever Meet the La Casa Family podcast. And I'm sitting here with Bailey. We're going to get to know a little bit about what she's doing in her new ministry. I'll let her introduce herself first, and then we'll go into what she's doing. Just so you know, my name is Eddie Medina, and I am the men's leader for the Beyond the Beard men's program that we have going on here. So you'll be seeing a lot more of us as we get around campus and as we get out there and get our name out. So, hello, Bailey.
Hello.
Excited. You're my first guinea pig, my first guest here. So let me know. Tell me a little bit about you first.
Sweet. Do you want your generic interview answer? Because I can give that.
Give me your real answer. Give me who you are.
Perfect.
What if you were to introduce yourself to 100 people? What would you introduce yourself as?
So I'm Bailey. As we know. And so I think my friends would describe me as this loving ball of energy. But I feel like I'm a determined, so I'm determined, I'm a first generation college student.
Oh, awesome.
I just finished at Paradise Valley Community College. I'm over at ASU now.
What do you major in?
Social work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
We'll get into that. We'll talk about that more too. That'd be cool.
Cool.
So, what are some big hobbies? What's your hobby?
I love to go rock climbing, but I feel like I can't say that with some of the people who go here because they go all the time.
Yeah.
Mine is maybe once every 3 months, but I love to do it. I love to go hiking, but I really love to volunteer.
That's awesome.
That's honestly where most of my time gets spent. I draw, paint, all of that fun stuff.
And I laughed. You texted me the other day. You have 3 jobs.
Yes.
So you're constantly working and being busy. So what are your 3 jobs? What do you do?
So first, I'm here obviously at Beyond, leading that. I am a server at Fast's Pizza.
Cool.
I've been there for it will be 6 years in August. And then I'm working over at Lowry's Garage as a phones person. I get to work on some cars sometimes, so that's super exciting. I'm all bruised up from that right now, but so much fun.
Yeah, nothing about cars. Put gas in the car, check engine lights, and just take the thing. So.
Hey, getting gas in it's the first step. Someone brought it in with no gas the other day and didn't know what happened.
I feel like I'm achieving. I'm overachieving, just getting gas in there. It's good. So tell me about kind of the college careers beyond thing and how you kind of got involved in that.
So it's kind of a funny story. So I had been going over to a different church for a little while and I didn't feel like it really fit. And so I wandered into Pastor Chris's office for a little bit. And I'm like, Chris, why don't we have a young adult ministry that goes through the year? I know it goes through the summer. But we didn't have anything at the time. It was frustrating because La Casa has been my home for so long. And I think it would be I think it's an amazing opportunity to be able to have a ministry geared for college-aged adults.
Awesome.
Because there's a need for it. And so Chris is like, well, why don't you do it? I'm like,
yeah, you make the suggestion, you're going to get put in charge.
Yep, I found that out. Then here I am 2 years later and still doing it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I think you're our newest member of the Casa family on taking it on and getting it going. So how did that come about? How did you get to the point where you were like, I'm going to run this at 100%?
For a little while, Pastor Matt and I were trying to find somebody to fill those shoes, actually. And so we realized at one point, I realized at one point, God's really calling me to be here. Because I was doubting my capabilities to do the Beyond ministry. And so I finally went to Pastor Matt. I'm like, look, I think he put me here for a reason. And I know I've dragged my feet on it a little bit, but let's do this. Because the people who go to Beyond deserve that. They deserve all like the love and energy that we can possibly pack into this. And being fully committed and fully being on staff, I have the ability to do that now at a better pace.
Yeah, I've learned that's one thing with being on staff and kind of working with people in the church is that just take that and run with it.
Mm-hmm.
Go with it and see what it is, and you're passionate about it. That's a cool thing to see it.
Yeah.
So you got to recognize some of the need, being part of that that group, and so what do you look for now as you're developing forward? Like, what do you want to see happen? What's like the big goal? What's the reach?
I would love to see it grow and blossom as a ministry, and to be able to really make movements and be able to do things. Like we've talked about, which is really cool, tying into the Casa family. Like us as a ministry before, we started having the meetings. Beyond itself, wanted to build like an intergenerational connection with the La Casa. With La Casa as a whole. And so we've been trying to figure out different ways. And so that's one thing I would love to see happen. And we're starting it now, which has been phenomenal. And I cannot wait to see where it goes. We're trying to outreach more and bring the love that we have here and the home that we have here and bring it out and really work on outreach. That's something that we're going to work on, and just overall loving.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just so people have an idea, the Casa family is, all inclusive of what La Casa Church is. The Casa family is, kids ministry, it's youth ministry, it's young adult ministry, it's men's ministry and women's ministry, and all of our leaders that are involved in that. We have our own little things that are going, but then we're building on each other, and so. Stacy runs the Ignite program, and she works with, the dads and the moms across the church. We just did the Mother's Day event. Chris's youth program, they'll volunteer and help out with things that we got going on within the church. MOPS helps feed other programs that are going on. I've actually spoke at MOPS to get men involved in our ministry. So when you look at beyond, that you're in the middle of a lot of different groups. Your age groups are ranging from 18 to 29, I think you said, right? With no limit to that age group.
Yes.
You're kind of like the tying between when someone comes out of church as a youth and are getting their way into their adult life and they're finding their traction. And that's like a great program to have. When you develop that and you're getting those studies or whatever you're doing, do you think about how you can tie them into what they've had before and what they're going to next?
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the biggest questions in my mind. How can I connect this? How can we what can we do? So for the past semester we've been talking about who God is and how we can be disciples. And so that ties in from where they've been. So coming from high school or serving in the military or anywhere, and figuring out who we are now and then trying to gear them up to who they're going to be and trying to build up these lifelong skills and values that it's going to be needed.
Oh yeah, for sure. I always, me growing up, and I'm 38 now, I say I'm in the weird void too of we don't know where we fit in because we're not in the older men's group and we're not in youth.
Right.
That program would have been great to have as I was coming up in church because we kind of that's when you stray and you're trying to find yourself, and when you have kind of like-minded people and you're building on that great foundation, that helps, and it's easier to come to church when you know people. When you have people in your age group or your kind of social circle, if they're coming on Sundays or they're involved on a Wednesday night, it's easy to feed into that.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So you look at now how church is today. What's the struggle? What's the biggest struggle for that 20-year-old age group? What's hard?
It would be hard to narrow it down. I think a lot of it's to do with time,
Oh, yeah.
because like I know a lot of young adults who are splitting their time between work, between friends, between so many different things, and it's like it feels like you're like pulling in every single direction. It's something that I've had a hard time with, and I've seen it a lot with the people who frequent the ministry. Like time is hard.
Oh, yeah.
I think
But
that's
you were talking about like working 3 jobs. We were texting the other day, and you like don't sleep much. Like, it's hard to sacrifice and balance that time and the schedule. You're learning to develop your schedule first, and learning where your time matters and what your value is in different areas. And it's a hard thing to do, but it's so worth it when you can find the people to do it with. And even when you get into older, like dealing with some of the men that we deal with in church, they travel,
Right.
they work, they have kids. It doesn't get easier. So I love the fact that you're kind of starting that. What's important to you right now, and what you need to be doing, where you need to be at. Well,
Right.
This is important. When you look at some of the people you're with and you work with, and you've kind of come up with, what do you tell them is important? What do you decide? Why do you give this the priority?
Can you repeat that question?
Like, how do you sell them coming to Beyond and convince someone in their 20s that this should be a priority in their lives?
Right. So, like, this time is a huge piece of transition. Like they can be coming from, like, never being away from home before, to now being over in Arizona, like, new space, new environment, or they can be starting their first career. And in those moments, that's when it's so important to have like people to lean on and to be able to collaborate and come together and really celebrate like the lives that are happening around us, and really celebrate the achievements, and then be there for when it does hit the fan, when like
Life
the
gets
world's
tough, yeah.
weighing down on you. And so that's what we strive to do, to create a space to where we can talk about these things and also talk about like the harder topics in the world, because I try not to shy away from hard conversations. And that's like, from the response that I get, it's so needed, because a lot of times there's no space to talk about that. That's what we've tried to do.
Awesome. No, I like that. That's great. So we're both sitting here with a new age kind of leadership and kind of Christian people, and I was at like a men's event yesterday. Like, wow, you have tattoos. And you're in men's ministry. Yeah.
Right.
So we're like you're like new picture. So like, what is some of the big things that you like to share with your group? Like, what do you notice with them the most? Like, is it, are they into music? Are they into reading? Are they into actually church service and praise? What do you think they really tie themselves to?
See, so over the past few years that we've been doing this, we've had a couple different groups, and each group was unique in itself, because over time, like, they had to like commit to different jobs that like took their time, or like school's been in the way. But like some of the unifying things that have like been shown in like the different like groups of people that I've seen, is really being able to have conversations, to get past surface level. Music's a huge connecting force in the people who have been coming recently, like a huge factor. Logan, he's really awesome. He runs the computer stuff in the back. That obviously I have to sum it up as computer stuff because I don't know what all the terms are.
It's a bunch of buttons.
Yeah, and so he's been really cool because he helps lead the worship element, and he tries to get everybody in the band, which has been fun.
that would be horrible to get me in band. I can see it. No, it's good.
It's been good.
It's good. Everyone has a way of praise and worship, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been huge.
Yeah.
But it's been cool.
So how much of so we'll give you the kind of the cool question. So how much time do you think people spend on their tech, on their phones, and
I'd have to say anywhere between 3 and 8 hours.
yeah?
But is it okay? Would it be running throughout the day or like solely focused on that?
I always consider, like, if I even just look on my phone, like even that little click on for 30 seconds adds up in time, which I probably do 4 times an hour.
Right.
And then long durations of me watching silly videos. And it's, yeah, I would say I'm like 3 hours probably a day. Maybe an hour and a half is useful, and an hour and a half, I don't even know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a weird, like, when we have like men's get-togethers, like, it takes us a while to settle into not being on our phones and creating a conversation. It's a good 15-minute warm-up of like getting to talk, and then all of a sudden we're talking and no one's phones are out. But it is kind of an addicting factor, especially when you're uncomfortable in situations. You grab your phone and stare at the screen. So, do you battle that with some of the group, or is that like your best connection right now? Is how you guys communicate through media?
Honestly, we could get better with the media aspect. I need to work on posting more and like communicating as a group. But in general, when we're meeting, I think it does take a couple minutes to like put them away.
Decompress from it.
Yeah, to
break that
decompress.
anxiety.
Yep, and immerse in like what we're talking about that day. But absolutely.
It's a different age. We live in strange days.
Yeah.
Strange age. So, a little bit about you. So you're doing your big final goal would be what for you personally?
In life?
In life.
That's a hard one.
I know, isn't it?
It
These are like
is.
the questions that always get me. Like, what are you gonna do when you grow up? And I'm like, I'm 30. That's all I'm doing.
Right.
Maybe when I'm around 40, I'll figure this out.
My grandpa still asks that question, like, what am I going to be when I grow up?
Well, so what made you choose your major?
So, I remember I hadn't heard about social work until I was a high school student, and Kat Tansey was telling me about it because she was studying at the time. And so my goal has always been to help people, and for me that seemed like the closest connection that I could. And over time, like it's kind of evolved to what I really want to do. So at PBCC, I got to know a bunch of like really cool people that I would have never met anywhere else. So one of the cool things about community college is like it's a really cool starting place for people who are coming from all walks of life. So one of my closest friends at PBCC, he came from California. He lived in California, and his whole family was involved in gang violence. Like 3 of his uncles had died from it. And like one day he decided that he wanted to be better for the people in his life, his nephews. And he wanted to show them that there's a different path. And like listening to his story, I realized not everybody knows that there's another path. Not everybody knows that that their life has value, because I know for him that's personally been a huge struggle for him. And I want to be able to like maybe go out in those communities and say, hey, like you don't have to fall into those same patterns, and really help them to understand that they are loved and that there's more in life.
Well, thank you, and you'll be seeing more of us as it goes through, and keep an eye open, and you'll be seeing some cool stuff at church. And you see Bailey, you see me, you see any of the Casa family leaders, Janine doing women's ministry, Pastor Matt, of course, Pastor Chris, from the La Casa family side of things, stop us and see what we're doing. Talk to us and get involved. And we will see you next time. Thank you.